There are new developments this morning following a CBC News story about an American seeking asylum in Canada after being convicted as part of the mob that stormed the U.S. Capitol back on January 6th of 2021. You'll likely remember this video. It's Antony Vo snowboarding in Whistler. And as we reported on this earlier this month, Vo came to Canada while he was facing a 9-month prison term. He says he was persecuted and wanted political asylum. His story made headlines here and indeed around the world, but Vo now says U.S. President Donald Trump has pardoned him and he no longer needs asylum. But he remains in detention since his arrest by Canada Border Services 3 weeks ago. Caroline Bargut is on the story. She's in our bureau in Washington this morning. I know that you've been covering the story, Caroline. You've been speaking with his lawyer, in fact. His lawyer says Canadian officials dispute that Vo has been pardoned, so there's obviously a lot to go through. Take us through the new details.
That's right. Well, Vo has been in Canada since June 14th, 2024. That's the day he was actually supposed to report to U.S. officials to start serving that 9-month prison sentence. He was convicted on 4 misdemeanor offenses for those January 6th riots of 2021. And as you mentioned, 3 weeks ago, so January 6th of this year, CBSA arrested him. And they said it was because there's no record of him actually entering the country at an official port of entry. He was claiming asylum, but then, as we know, last week, U.S. President Donald Trump issued pardons for the J6ers, and he also commuted the sentences of 14 people. So I spoke with Robert Thibault. He is Vo's lawyer. Now, he says that Vo is clearly captured under this pardon, but that CBSA is not recognizing that. And he thinks it's because if you go to the White House's website, it shows the executive order, and then it shows the 14 names of the people whose sentences were commuted, but there is no actual list of people who've been pardoned. Here's Thibault.
There's over 1,500 people who've been pardoned. None of their names are there. There's a few names at the top, and these people had their sentences commuted, no pardon. But under Part B, it says if you were at or near Capitol Hill. So Antony clearly falls under that category.
So here's what it actually says under Part B on the website. It says, grant a full, complete, and unconditional pardon to all other individuals convicted of offenses related to events that occurred at or near the United States Capitol on January 6, 2021. And of course, Thibault says Vo is one of those people.
If he feels he no longer needs asylum in Canada, Caroline, when could he go home?
Well, it's a good question, Heather, because Thibault says he should be allowed to go home. You know, yesterday he signed the papers that basically he's withdrawing his asylum claim. So the hope was that he would be on his way, but not so. Here's Thibault again.
It's been my view all along that he's been unlawfully detained. But at this stage, with him putting in his withdrawal of his claim for refugee status, to further detain him any longer than is necessary may amount to a further wrongful detention. So I want to be optimistic that CBSA will act quickly, and then Antony will be on his way back home to his family in Indiana.
So I spoke with Thibault yesterday, late last night, after we had already talked. He told me that he received a letter from immigration officials, and it basically said that Vo cannot yet withdraw his asylum claim and that he must first attend an admissibility hearing tomorrow, a CBSA admissibility hearing. And that is to determine whether he's allowed to even be in Canada in the first place before he could seek asylum. So that has to be dealt with before he could deal with withdrawing his asylum claim. Now, the letter says, he sent me a copy of the letter, it's 3 pages. It says in part, the minister is seeking a removal order based on Mr. Vo's conduct. This is distinct from any conviction or pardon. Now, Thibault believes that Canada is actually trying to get a judgment against Vo so they can remove him from the country and then prevent him from returning. Now, we asked CBSA about this, but we haven't heard back about specific questions relating to Vo. But about 15 minutes ago, I got an email from CBSA officials, and they're speaking in general terms. And one of the things they say is that when information comes to light that an individual who entered Canada may be inadmissible, the CBSA will launch an investigation and initiate appropriate enforcement action.
Caroline Bargut from Washington, thank you.